Here is a company that's valued at nearly $1 billion, but not that many people, including those inside of Silicon Valley, know what it is. What is Palantir?
Well, in every large-scale enterprise, you essentially have this problem that you have data in different databases, and it's very hard for humans to actually interact with that data. And what we basically do is we promote human-driven synergies between humans and computers by integrating every data store you have, any kind of data, and at any scale. And we also provide privacy protection so that you only see the data you're allowed to see. Now, this sounds like an incredibly boring problem, but actually it's the core issue you have if you want to do things like prevent cyber attacks, enforce civil liberties, enforce standards of privacy on data, or in some of our work actually stop terror attacks.
So the core of it is to be able to solve all these problems through your Palantir platform, right? The DNA, though, of Palantir is tied to PayPal. One of your co-founders is Peter Thiel. Can you talk about the beginning of the company, how you were able to grow this product from something that was created in PayPal?
So there are two key components to that. One, the methodology that was developed at PayPal, which was basically the use of human analysis to reduce fraud. So they had this massive problem of essentially cyber fraud and was putting them out of business. They tried algorithmic approaches, so you go and you get algorithms and you try to reduce the fraud by applying those algorithms to large data sets. One of the interesting things about that is it doesn't work out very well because the opponent is highly adaptive. You have an algorithm that finds this behavior, they figure it out, they change. What you need is a human mind that's adaptive against an adaptive enemy or an adaptive opponent. So having the human mind apply its own version of algorithms to data. And that actually was very, very powerful in reducing fraud. So since we knew that worked, we marched off kind of naively to the intelligence community and said, look, we'll build this into a product. Now, again, to a lot of your questions, the key moment here is we didn't want to do this as a service. You could say we have a methodology, we'll build every time we sit down, we'll do this one, we'll do it each time and we'll charge you, but we had this idea that is run through our whole company that we will try to get this into a product, meaning that we would solve the underlying issues that would work in any enterprise. Now, what we found when we went to the intelligence community is, unlike PayPal, they had lots of unstructured data. The data stores were much larger. They weren't built to communicate. You had very, very technical users and non-technical users, and you had this massive issue of privacy protection and collaboration. So in the PayPal context, you allow any user to see all the data. But in the governmental or even consumer context, you can't allow end users to see every bit of data. They only get to see the subset they're allowed to see. So to take the PayPal model, which would have been a one-off approach that would require lots of services hours and turn it into a product, you had to productize the ability to integrate the data and productize the ability, but integrate the data meaning any kind of data, not just simple structured data. And that took us 3 years and a very, very strong engineering team.
It's a fairly complicated product, and that's its strength, but early on, you must have had some doubts when you were creating this product. Would it work? Would it actually be used in the market? When was your aha moment when you felt like, okay, we have something that's scalable, that the government, that other private institutions are really going to want to use?
Well, of course, it was very scary since doing enterprise software 2005 to 2009 was a little bit like starting a circus.
Yeah.
In the middle of Palo Alto with engineers. It was not popular, or it was popular with the wrong people mainly, which was us and a couple investors like Peter, who was a co-founder, and so we didn't know it would actually work till 2008, and we didn't know anyone would buy it till really mid 2008, so third quarter 2008. And until then, we were just operating on the faith that we had something really important. Now, the real proof was we saw massive adoption without a sales force. So this is how we knew it was working, because one person would email another they have classified networks and say, this is awesome, you have to get that. And so one of the reasons to actually be very focused on an engineering team as opposed to a sales team is you really need to know, is the delta between what they have with us and what they could have really significant.
How difficult was it to break into DC to get the first government contract? When you stepped into that first meeting, what was it like, and how did you make your case?
We did a very bad job making our case. It was very difficult. We didn't understand what they were saying. They didn't understand what we were saying. I think the first 100 meetings or so were fraught with misunderstandings, and we basically went in and said, we have this tool. We didn't understand their data sets. We really didn't understand their problems. We didn't understand their language. They didn't understand ours. We said from the beginning, we're not hiring any people just because they're from government. We're just hiring engineers. Many of the people in our company don't own suits, still don't. But the thing that resonated with them was we said, we are not selling you a service. We are not going to come and sell you engineers. We are going to sell you a finished product, and we are going to show you it, demonstrate its value against your data.
How many government contracts do you currently hold today?
Well, most of our contracts have massive clauses in them saying we can't disclose. But I think the way you could think of it is if we have 280 people. To really deal with the footprint of where we're at now, it would be much better if we had 450 or 500. So that gives you a sense of the scale.
Do you think you're always going to stay true to that engineering is at the core philosophy? Will you ever build out a sales or marketing team? Is that ever going to be part of the DNA at Palantir?
I hope not. I mean, I could get hit by a car, the core team could get hit by a car, our investors could get tired of the fact that we don't hire sales. See, the thing is, if you are iterating on a problem that you want to be important 3 years from now, it's better to have engineers figuring out what the core issues are and then iterate against them. If you want to optimize on revenue next quarter or even in the next 9 months, you want to be heavy on Salesforce, long sales, short engineering. We're long on dealing with the most important problems that we can find, dealing with them in a productized way so that they scale for the client. And because we're long on that and short on what happens in the near term, we are not planning to hire salespeople. We still haven't hired any. We don't really hire non-technical people very often, and we don't have a marketing department. And we're not planning to get any of them.